Fautré. It is a big pleasure meeting you here on the OSCE, a big event in Warsaw. The topic that we are very concerned about is the activities of anti-cult organizations such as FACRIS, and it's actually a domain in Russia, Ratsirs, and these organizations persecute the religious freedoms, the human rights, and undermine the democracy as it is. So my first question is, how do you estimate their activities and how dangerous they are here in the EU and the consequence to the democracy in the EU?
Yes, and first I want to thank you for having me here in your program. And of course, FACRIS and the anti-cult organizations have been for many years our target, Human Rights Without Frontiers in Brussels. And from there we have a look all over the European Union about their activities and beyond, of course, as in Ukraine or in Russia and also in other non-European countries. And these are very dangerous activities for democracy and human rights in general. First, of course, what I would stress is that for 20 years, Alexander Dworkin from Russia had been the co-president of FACRIS, an umbrella organization which says that it is defending victims of some organizations that they label cults. But in fact, cults do not exist. You have religious belief organizations and everybody is free to believe in what he wants to believe in. So, in fact, it is some sort of a thought police that is being installed in quite a number of countries and institutions of various states. I think of France, for example, Belgium as well, and of course in Russia. In Russia, they have been very effective, of course, because they have the support of the Orthodox Church, Patriarch Kirill, to try to cleanse the country from any foreign agent in the religious sphere. So any religious group that has historical roots in other countries than Russia, and before it was the Soviet Union. So, for example, they have declared illegal and banned Jehovah's Witnesses, also Scientology, also BYU, so the Mormon University institution, and the process will go on, of course, because they want the whole country just to be under the authority of both, on the political side, President Putin, and on the spiritual side, so the Russian Orthodox Church. I also want to stress that the support from Putin is also very important, since he introduced the concept of spiritual security in his program, because that allows him, if he needed any authorization to do it, to legally, I would say between inverted commas, to persecute non-Orthodox groups. And that's what is happening. And he exports that model. He exports that model also with the support of Alexander Dworkin, with the with the Russian member organization in FACRIS. They are active in Georgia, for example. They were active as well in Ukraine before the war started. Now they are not welcome, of course, but also in Europe. And in Europe, France is a key partner of let's say, the suppression policy of Putin through the state institution, the Miviludes, that finances FACRIS, because FACRIS was created in France and gets subsidies from the French government. So it's the French taxpayers who pay the activities spreading hate speech, hatred, hostility against minority religious and spiritual groups. We have been fighting with partners in France against their influence. We have been successful by managing to bar some policies that were to be developed by FECRIS, the Miviludes, and also to give the right picture of what the member organizations in France in FECRIS are, because they are also prosecuted, and successfully, by some minority religions like Jehovah's Witnesses. And our objective, of course, is to debunk the fake news, the lies, and all sorts of statements. They are very far from the reality.
I couldn't agree more, and thank you very much for your expertise. Our investigations of the project Creative Society and ALLATRA International Public Movement, but also a number of independent journalists, show that it's not only the minorities, religious minorities, who are targeted by this illegal network, as FECRIS and Racirs, but they go much farther than targeting the minorities. They target civil societies, human rights activists, and actually even such a country as Ukraine is called as a cult, and so they just legitimize its destruction. So my question is, what about us here in Europe, since we are very concerned about their activities and the huge network here in Europe, also in Slovak and Republic and Czech Republic and in other countries in Europe. So how do you see what actions, what measurements can be taken, maybe on the legislative level, to prevent their illegal actions, their illegal activities, so that we will not face such consequence as it is right now in human rights situation and democracy in Russia as a whole?
It is an ideological war that we are fighting here on the European continent. And one way of doing it is, as we do, to monitor all their activities when they are visible, because most of the time they are not. They act from behind the scenes. But when distribute fake news or distorted news, then the best thing is to re-investigate what they are writing and publishing, and to publish the reality, the real facts, so that journalists, members of parliaments can have at least two narratives and make their choices. And it is very important to do that work, because we have noticed in many, many cases that politicians read the newspapers, and when there are campaigns, and they are very professional, I would say, in their campaigns against minority religions, they just believe what the press says. And then that's on that basis that they take decisions to have inquiry about so-called sexual abuses in Jehovah's Witnesses communities, for example, because I worked on that in Belgium. And it was a totally fake news, with the support in that case of the Belgian, let's say, state institution fighting against cults. Every time it's lies and lies and lies and distortions, just to stigmatize, because that is their objective, to stigmatize and break the picture of peace-abiding, law-abiding and peaceful groups that even contribute to the well-being of society. And this is, of course, the opposite of democratic values. And so by monitoring what they are doing, having a counter-narrative and putting those narratives, our narratives, in the hands of members of the European Parliament, that's what we do. We have a newsletter, for example, that reaches 10,000 subscribers who are members of parliaments, embassies in Brussels, in Washington, in London, NGOs, also members of parliaments of 16 member states of the European Union. That's our daily work, to debunk lies by anti-cult organizations. They are not different, in fact, from those who, in Pakistan, for example, persecute Ahmadis. Because Ahmadis are not in line with normal, traditional Islam, and they are persecuted by a number of groups. And FECRIS and other anti-cult groups do exactly the same, not using violence, themselves, but by spreading hostility and hatred towards a number of groups. Then you have physical attacks against their members. Members of minority religions then lose their job and also lose their business, so that has an impact on their family life, so the damage is absolutely huge. And there are also physical attacks against communal and religious buildings. So the impact that is not always visible, now thanks to the OSCE organization and the annual meeting here in Warsaw, is becoming visible, because those groups come and complain here. With oral statements, with written statements, and this is brought to the attention of the delegations of the 57 participating states of the OSCE. And we also tell to all the persecuted minority groups, come to Warsaw, go to the OSCE or the conference and raise your voice and express your complaints.
That's amazing work what you do. And my last question would be regarding the civil society, and how can we as society spread awareness about these actually shadow networks, since in the majority of the population their activities are not known because they act in the shadow, and they are, for the majority of people, they are detected. But the opinions that they plant in the mass media through their agents and the journalists who are actually corrupted and destroying democracy right now, they actually have a huge impact on the opinion of the population. So what do you suggest for the civil society to do, or what measurements we can take to spread this awareness and then take further actions, as here on the OSCE platform, on the European Parliament, and so on and so on?
I would say networking inside the news outlets, making friends with journalists, with press organizations, attending their conferences on the spiritual and religious issues, giving your card, distributing your documents, the results of your investigation, but especially having personal relations with journalists, so that then you can be in a good relation and showing that you are neutral, that you just want the truth and the facts, and not some biased perception of facts, or sometimes non-facts at all, that are misused to reach a specific agenda that is against freedom of religion or belief. And it takes time. It takes time. It can also take money, but mainly time. But it's fruitful. A second way is to defend yourself in courts. I have several examples that were successful with a good lawyer. You can win some cases against some media and some journalists, for sure, and that is not to be neglected at all. But of course you need funding to defend yourself, and you need the support of your specific religious or spiritual group, but that is also effective. And it's not unimportant to have the courage to attack them and to show also to public opinion through court decisions that they are not abiding by their ethical rules.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fautré, also from our team here in the OSCE. Your expertise is so appreciated internationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.